Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. And by the way, watch this video all the way through because I have a special offer that I'm making available in February. In my work, one of the most amazing things that I'm able to observe and have a direct experience in is helping people find the power of their own voice. You know, as a martial arts instructor, I do it, been doing it for decades, helping people find their strength through what we call the key up. And also in teaching self-defense techniques to teach people to help fend off an assailant using the power of their voice. And I also, as a professional speaker, I get to use the power of my own voice to be able to influence and impact others. But there's probably nothing more impactful than seeing your child find the power of their voice. And that's what I want to share with you today. Several years ago, my son Jason, as he was growing up, he had a real difficulty with his voice. He had had a number of ear infections when he was young, which delayed his ability to speak. In fact, so much so that we had to teach him sign language because he'd get so frustrated he couldn't speak in order to have his needs met. Now, that eventually went away, thankfully, and he was able to get all this hearing and he began to speak. But in his elementary school years, all the way through high school, what surfaced was his inability to speak sometimes without a stutter. Disfluency came as part of that. And I have to tell you, there's probably nothing more challenging and painful as a parent than seeing one of your kids struggle with their voice and struggle with stuttering. You're trying to give them strategies, you're trying not to make a big deal out of it. And so anyway, that was really something that Jason struggled with all the way through high school. But then when he was 17, something shifted. See, Jason and two of his buddies were getting ready to test for their senior third-degree black belt. And in their 10-plus years of martial art training, this was going to be their biggest challenge so far. Not only did they have a whole bunch of things that they were responsible for doing physically and also growing as human beings, but they also had to play leaders as part of their black belt candidate group. And one of the requirements that they had was they had to create this form, a musical form, showing off all of their skills as part of their test. And traditionally, this was one of the most enjoyable portions of our black belt testings. People loved this portion. But then a couple weeks before the test, Jason came to me and he said, "Dad," he said, "I could do that musical form thing. That would not be a challenge for me." He said, "What would really challenge me is if I gave a speech." I have to be really honest with you. As soon as he said it, my heart sank, and the protective nature of my dad, being the dad, kind of came to me saying he can't do that. But then the martial arts instructor in me said, this is the best thing he could do. So the day of the big event came, and Jason and his two buddies did a masterful job at their test, and they were just doing an incredible job. And then the musical forms portion came, and everyone did a great job. But now it was Jason's turn to give his speech. And I remember reluctantly handing him the microphone. So now he's standing in a gym full of people, over 300 people watching, and he begins a speech. And he delivers it flawlessly, not a stutter. He gets done and people raise to their feet and they give him a standing ovation. I have to admit, it was one of the prouder papa moments in my life. But what was interesting is after that experience, what happened in Jason's life is everything shifted. The stuttering almost went away. He started teaching martial arts more at the school without a stutter. Then he went off to college and he was leading teams when he was doing his film studies, putting film projects together. And then 4 years after that, I sat in the auditorium and I watched him deliver the commencement speech representing his senior class, once again without a stutter. Now, that doesn't mean he hasn't had challenge with that since then, but the fact of the matter is he came upon the challenge and he went directly into it. And it made me think about how we can use that experience, in our own lives. How when we find our voice or when we use our voice, how we can make ourselves more powerful and impact others. So there's 3 ways I want to share with you today. The first thing is learn to say yes. Oftentimes our biggest growth is right on the other side of our biggest fears. Just like in Jason's story, his breakthrough came on the other side and he said yes. And it's like Emerson says, when you do the thing you fear, the death of fear is certain. So where do you have an opportunity to say yes to something that you might have been avoiding, you might have been fearful of? That's number 1. Number 2 is learn to say no. Now, what do I mean by that? Many times we end up saying yes to everything, and it dilutes our focus, it dilutes our power. And so one of the things that I've really learned is when you get really clear on your vision and your values, then you're more selective with what you say yes and no to. And in fact, one of my teachers one time told me is when you have powerful no's, your yeses are even more powerful. So where do you have a place to powerfully use your voice to say no? And then finally is use your voice to say, I'm here. Where are the places that you can show up? Where are the places you can use your voice, whether it's in speaking, whether it's in singing, whether it's in whatever it is, but where do you have the place to show up? Because when you show up powerfully like that, what you do is you inspire others to do the same. So this week I challenge all of us. Where do you have an opportunity to truly use your voice? In your work, amongst your friends, in your schools, whatever that is. Because when you do, you're able to share the gifts you were meant to share in the world and make it a better place. So, by the way, this month I do have a special offer. If you look at the link below, what you'll see is a little link there, and it's to my online program. It's called Mind of a Champion Online Program, 8 Weeks to Creating a Life of Power, Passion, and Purpose. And here's a means for you to really find your voice. So if you're interested in that, for the month of February, I'm making it available for 50% off. So go ahead and hit the link below and check it out. I'd love to have you come on board with me. So once again, everyone, this has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching. Thanks so much for your ongoing support of these messages. If you liked them, make sure that you comment, share them with someone, and we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.